Mike's Daily Podcast.
FF episode 1372-1372, and I'm Mike Matthews, broadcasting from Cafe Anyway, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley, Mont. Today, Bison Bentley, Valentino, Madame Rootabega, and we get to a segment called The Mike Tip, where I have some interesting news stories, little tips of info to give you today on a Friday.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I had a wonderful time with the longtime Mike's Daily Podcast listener, Sylvia.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
She brought some blueberries and they were delicious. They were not scary. And I drank some lemonade. It was made by Cafe 4 and a hot blonde named Wade. No, that wasn't her name. I think it might have been Lindsay, but I don't know. She's on my Instagram feed, and she couldn't give a crap who I am. Ho. No, she's probably nice.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I guess, sometimes you follow people on Instagram and they don't follow you back, and that's okay. That's the world
Mike's
we live in, my friend.
Daily
Where there's unrequited
Podcast.
love everywhere you go.
Yeah!
The streets are littered with unrequited love. Hey, where'd my sound effects go? Thank you. Hi. I got through the heat wave yesterday. I feel good today. I feel like I've climbed a mountain. And I did not see Robert and Christy. Oh, that was the whole thing. Look who just walked in. Hello, Michael Master. It's Madame Rootabega. You got your Comcast bill. I did. And they did raise my rates, even though I went in and I complained to them. And they said, oh, we'll take care of it. They didn't take care of it. They lied. So guess who has to drive all the way back to Dublin, which is where my friend Robert was. Look who else walked in. And Robert locked the keys in his car. So Robert, incidentally, could not get back to Consequently, couldn't get back to his wonderful house and with his wife and have beers. That was the thing I was talking about yesterday. Okay. That's neither here nor there or over there. It is a fact, though, this is for sure. Cable companies suck. And there should be if we had the money and we had a huge, huge government, we would go ahead and just sue them all and break them up into little tiny cable companies that would fight.
And here's today's podcast picture.
Competitively against each other, and maybe we would have a better system. I don't know. I'm not like some kind of financial guru. I'm not even a guru. If I did, I'd wear a cool hat. Look, the podcast picture today is of Venice, California. Venice Beach, California. Last time I was there was 2000. Oh my God, this picture's from 10 years ago, I just realized. And yeah, it was a time when I was down living in Ventura. And my then wife and I were like, hey, let's go down to LA. And we went to Venice Beach. And her story to me, when I first met her, she had a pierced nose for a short while. And then it became unpierced. And she always used to tell me, yeah, I got my nose pierced in Venice. I guess a lot of people do that in Venice. That's Venice. Venice is also where I went to as a child with my mom. And she was big into roller skating, so I had roller skates, and we had a dog named, was it Toy Toy? Toy Toy. We had a dog, Toy Toy, that was half husky, half German Shepherd. This dog was awesome. Basil's awesome too, but I just wanted to remember wonderful Toy Toy. This dog, very outgoing, and we'd go on the roller skating on the beach. The other dog that was awesome that we had was Ollie Mop, and she was an Old English sheepdog, and she was awesome. Oh, some of the best dogs in the world. And Basil, of course. And Basil got through the heat yesterday. He even got to chase a deer. Yeah, on our walk yesterday. We're walking around Coal Canyon and the East Bay Regional Park that they have there, and he sees a deer and he took off after it, and it was in an area. It was an area that was pretty safe, no cars or anything, so he got about as far as this thicket, and the deer, of course, just leaped right over the thicket and was off off into the wilderness. And Basil was, aw. Hey, but what I was trying to say was somebody walked in.
Hello, Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant.
And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that?
Mike, Venice Beach is full of hippies, Dave.
Yeah, hippies. Do you know that? Yes, and so is San Francisco. So be scared, Georgia. Be very scared. The state of Georgia is afraid of San Francisco, and that's why they did not want to vote for John Ossoff. As we talked about in the last show, he ran his competitor. I don't know who the Republican is that won. Chely something. She used a system of fear tactics, as they often do, politicians. So I just wanted to wrap this all up by saying, have a great weekend. It's going to be an awesome weekend. Have some lemonade. Have some fine drink. I'm being optimistic. I don't know if I'm going to go and yell at Comcast today. I feel like going to Half Moon Bay today, actually. It's going to still be warm, but not as hot as yesterday. So this is the thoughts and hopes and dreams of one Mike Matthews here in the Bay Area, in Podcaster Valley. Hey, did something happen this week that I missed? Something happened. What was it that oh yeah, so Robert locked his keys in the car, so we didn't end up getting a beer. And the fair, I don't know what's going to happen with the fair. I certainly do want to go to the fair. I do want to see. Now, the food is way too overpriced at the fair, I have to say. The prices are just crazy. But all the live entertainment, there's live music everywhere you go. And one of the days, I forget if we've done it already, but there was a $1 ride day. And I'm definitely going to check that out, because there's usually not too many people there. I was surprised. But going to the fair when it's really hot, like yesterday, would have been a bad idea, because where all the rides are, it's a huge parking lot. And that asphalt is just absorbing all that heat. You've probably got crazy temperatures coming off that asphalt. Over 100, definitely. Now, I just wanted to point to you this thing here over here. Look over here. Look it over here. Look at this. Look it. Over here, look. It's the website, MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST-1372-Consequently. And all the past shows are there, and the past podcast pictures, and you can help out through the Amazon link if you're going to buy anything on Amazon. Perhaps sunscreen, as we are here in summertime now. There is a link there, and if you click on that link at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com and buy whatever it is you're going to buy on Amazon, that helps us out. There's also a donate button, a PayPal button, and you can help us out and become an inglorious Mike's Daily Podcaster. You'll get a special personalized MP3 for thee. The Mitford sisters, thank you. That's who I was thinking of, the Mitford. There is a thing on Netflix about the Mitford sisters. I had no idea who they were. They're these British women, all sisters, that one of them became a famous writer. Is it Mary Whitford or Nancy Whitford? And then two of them really stood out because one got all into fascism and met Hitler early on and became a close friend of his, whilst the other sister ended up moving to New York and became a huge a proponent for fighting for civil rights. And the two sisters could have been as far away from each other as possible, politically. They were just on opposite ends. England hated the Hitler sister, and just goes all into their history and stories, and it's fascinating. There's a couple of sister stories. I also watched the one about Jackie Onassis Kennedy, whatever you want to call her last name, the very famous Jacqueline Bouvier. Fascinating woman, and her sister. So, and it made me think, wow. Cafe anyway. Jackie was just... Anyway. Beautiful, and she was also a photojournalist before she met John F. Kennedy, and fascinating. Anyway, Cafe Anyway, let's get to the segment. Anyway. Called...
Yo, the Mike Tip.
Hi, I'm DJ Sneeze. You can download my album and get this new music service called Tidal for free if you sign up with Sprint. What? Why is that I don't understand how that's a win-win. So, 4 GOP senators opposed the Senate health care measure that came out yesterday. They oppose it in its current form. 4 Republican senators from the conservative wing of their party say they oppose the Senate health care bill as it was introduced by Mitch McConnell, the majority leader of the Senate, yesterday, which places the effort to overhaul the American healthcare system in jeopardy as it heads for an anticipated vote in the Senate. And that is happening next week. Those senators include Rand Paul of Kentucky, Ted Cruz of Texas, Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, and Mike Lee of Utah. They announced in a joint statement that they are all getting married because they love each other so much. And they believe in polygamy. Sometimes the world that I create in my head is way better than the one that's here and now. But I have to tell you that this girl on CNBC is a knockout. Who is she? The blonde. She kind of looks like a young was it Jack Ryan? From, not Jack Ryan. That's the guy from Patriot Games. Jerry Ryan, thank you. 7 of 9, remember from Voyager, Star Trek? She kind of looks like a young version of that, but whatever, cafe whatever. I got distracted, and you know what? Anyway, I can't apologize enough. All right, we got to wrap up the show. So they negotiate. Their opposition is enough to place success of the GOP measure in doubt. McConnell can afford to lose only 2 Republicans and still pass the measure. And here we got 4 separately, moderate Republican senators voiced concerns about the bill. See, some don't, they want everything Obama came up with torn out by the roots. Others are like, wait a minute, I'm going home. When I go home, I don't want to get yelled at by my constituents. So can we make some of this work? Said the moderate Republicans. They voiced concerns about the bill, further complicating Mitch McConnell's path to securing the 50 votes needed to get the bill over the finish line, with Vice President Pence standing ready to break a tie. He did that already with the Gorsham? Still, some expressed doubts about whether GOP senators who came out swiftly and forcefully against the bill were simply posturing in order to try to move it in a more favorable direction when it heads to the Senate floor, and eventually claiming credit for reshaping the legislation before a final vote. So let's move on to Alabama, where I lived for 2 years. Alabama officials are warning residents to be on the lookout for mounds of floating fire ants that could form in floodwaters as Tropical Storm Cindy makes its way inland. For those of you not familiar with a fire ant, this is a bug designed by Satan himself. This bug will walk on your skin, and once it does it, everywhere it steps on your skin becomes a stinging mound of flesh and hurts like hell. I experienced this myself as I had to mow my lawn constantly as I lived in Alabama. I think sometimes 2 times a week. And I would sometimes walk over these little hills pop up everywhere with these fire ants. And, you walk over it, one of them gets on your shoe, or a couple get, or God forbid you actually don't see where you're standing and you just stand there for a minute while you're trying to readjust or whatever. I was listening to podcasts back as they first came out, and I would download them to my crappy, I had a Sony Ericsson phone, which Ericsson is right here in the Bay Area. I just drove by their building the other day, and I'm trying to adjust and I look down and fire ants are all over me and it hurts like hell. Ow. So that's one of the negatives of Alabama. Just want to point that out. Makes me happy. I'm here in California where I don't really see fire ants. I know there's a type of fire ant. When I lived in Southern California, I grew up in the San Fernando Valley, and I remember seeing fire ants. But these are completely different. These are just crazy. The Alabama Cooperative Extension System, also known as NAMBLA. No, that's a joke from The Daily Show they used to do. Anytime they would do an acronym, they would immediately say NAMBLA, which is not an acronym you ever want to say. So the Alabama, or ACES, ACES is what that is. They said in a warning Wednesday that the floodwaters will not kill the state's invasive fire ant population because they're indestructible as they were shaped in Hades. The ant colonies can emerge from the soil and band together in a loose ball, which can float on the surface of the water. They can look like ribbons, streamers, or a ball of ants floating on the water. These amoeba-like masses contain all of the colony's members. Everybody, worker ants, the brood, which includes eggs, larvae, and pupae, poop, winged reproductive males and females, and queen ants. Every nightmare I ever had was just said in the preceding sentence. And while it may sound like something out of a horror movie, floating fire ants often happen after flooding events. In October 2015, after a 1 in 1,000 year event ravaged South Carolina, several photographers captured what appeared to be mounds of floating ants. Months earlier, following deadly flooding in Texas, residents also reported seeing droves of ants in flooded yards. Finally, the first phone to successfully integrate a fingerprint sensor in the screen may not be an iPhone or Samsung Galaxy. It could be a phone from the Chinese brand Vivo, which isn't well known outside of China. A Vivo Twitter post hinted that the company will unlock a new solution at a trade show next week. Pair that with the image of what looks like a fingerprint going through a panel, and you have a pretty strong suggestion that Vivo's phone could kick off the next phone trend. The tweet echoes last week's short and very unofficial YouTube video of Vivo's smartphone with a fingerprint sensor built into its display. This will make phone makers aim for bigger displays with smaller bezels. Phones that have a home button or scanner beneath the screen could ditch it to save more space. Companies that can get ahead of the curve to use this software will have more options for reconfiguring the placement of the fingerprint sensor on their phone. As we go outside a cafe anyway, we're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcaster Valley. You know, it really is amazing. The iPhone is 10 years old, and there's an article that came out recently. It was mentioned not to the point, and they were talking to the writer about how so many things had to come together for the iPhone. Things that weren't necessarily big technology at the time, like the type of a touch screen that allows you to touch it multiple times to be able to make things happen, the lithium battery, and the sheer size of the phone that's so small. And when Steve Jobs, if you listen to that audio, they played it on that podcast. When Steve Jobs comes out and he's announcing the iPhone, he says, this phone will allow you to do this, this, and this. He says like 4 things that had never, ever been done before with a smartphone. And the crowd does nothing. Nothing. The crowd, okay, I don't know who was there that day, but we should look up who was there at that day, at that announcement, and say to all those people, what were you on, drugs? Were you on Xanax? Were you just like lithium? What? Were you on lithium? What were you on that you did not even react to somebody saying, hey, I have just changed the world, you morons. React to me. They did nothing. And then somebody in the back finally goes, woo! And then there's like this slow roll of an applause. Watch it, listen to it. It's hilarious. The people at that announcement were idiots. Just sheer dumb blanks. My gosh. Here's this guy, this genius, announcing, hey, I've just created this amazing device. Every teenager in the world will be never ever talk to you again because they're just going to be staring down at these objects, that these invention. They will be looking at my invention. You'll never talk to your teenagers again. You're welcome. No, you should talk to your teenagers. They need to be talked to. They need your help in making sense of this crazy world. So it's hilarious. I was just dumbstruck by how awestruck, dumbstruck, dumbfounded. I was dumb in some manner or shape or form when I heard that clip. And I thought to myself, yeah, it really was amazing what came together to make the iPhone. Of course, Samsung has its version now, and we'll see what happens with this fingerprint, whatever, dealio. Who cares? But the point is, you need to, when you see something that shakes your world, I think the fact of the matter is the people that were at that conference that day were not paying attention. They don't. That's all I'm saying. We don't pay attention enough is what I'm trying to say. I don't know what I've lost attention. I've lost my attention of this show. So next show is going to be the wonderful Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, John Deere the engineer. Thank you for listening to this show on a smartphone of some device. Did you know that the smartphone was actually created? There was a prototype made way back in the 90s. I think by somebody at IBM. But there's some guy that nobody even remembers anymore created this early smartphone. I should look that up. I wish I had some kind of computer device to help me do that. But I don't. All right. Have a great weekend.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Email Mike now at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!